各位观众晚上好，我们今天要玩 a Baule, or as we know it in English, Bastion. Hello everyone, welcome to our special Bastion stream because this is both the demonstration of the second ending that we did not get from the previous time, and we're going to be reviewing the game too. So normally we would be doing Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, but we're gonna be doing we hadn't done the review for this, but I didn't want to slow down the Shenren Sword playthrough just to show you the second ending. It won't take very long, but yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. I also don't know why the frames per second is dropping. It's very odd. I'm going to first give me 1 second. I'm gonna see why that is. I'm not really sure what's going on my end, but it does bother me that there's slight frame drops. Also gotta make sure this time there's no people. My son isn't going to pop up. Anyway, yeah, I do not know what's causing these frame drops. It's really odd. I don't know if it's Firefox, but yeah, it's very strange. My graphics card should not be struggling, but oh well. It's all good. No worries. I don't really have time to troubleshoot this, but so let's go to the last area again. And yeah, we're going to be fighting Zolf. This time we don't technically have to spare him because it makes no difference because we are picking the redo ending. So let me think. What was I going to say? I'm going to double check and make sure that we are indeed online because I don't have a way to look at that. Yeah, for this time we're going to go ahead and okay, that's good. I see myself. That's a good sign. I think that's me. Okay, cool. I don't sound like a chipmunk. Okay, that's good. I see my... Okay, cool. The one nice thing is about we multi-stream to YouTube in addition to not having to worry about my highlights and getting destroyed like they will be soon on Twitch, which I've talked about in previous streams. Basically I have a lot of highlights I have to kill in order to highlight further streams. So for now we have to download the stream and then go from there. But what was I gonna say again? I also was, but the other nice thing is that the mobile app experience on YouTube is much better than the Twitch mobile app. So anyway, we're gonna have to do the last area again, so I'll try to move quickly this time.
No telling where the kid is now.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
But
yeah,
he'll be all right.
I have to remember I'm playing I do have to remember that I'm playing Bastion and not Hyrule Warriors.
Just needs to get that shard from Zolf and come on home. was hardest of all.
Yeah, I have to remember how to play this game
You know why
again.
it's hopeful back there. The place was his home.
Yeah, so the dialogue's pretty much the same.
Taken
Ow.
by the calamity. Zolf must be there all alone, just waiting. You know what's funny? Well,
And like, and Rux was always hiding out the truth from us. That's kind of lame, honestly.
all of us are waiting for a kid.
Yep, the irony. Everyone's waiting for the same person.
Look around. There's not much left to do here at the Bastion, I'm afraid. So why not tell each other stories to pass the time?
Right. So,
But Zia, there's another reason I've been telling you all this. There's something I want you to understand.
I know it's the same dialogue. What? So that's why I'm not really commenting as much, because you heard my comment
Zia
the
brings
first time.
back that shard. The Bastion will be complete.
Yeah, he's saying like, what if he's presenting the choices.
This disease the Earth planted here will go away.
Sorry about knocking that.
What happens to Zolf will no longer matter.
I do have to remember to pick the correct ending, or else. Oops.
Zealandia will be holding you.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry. I should not have let them kill me. theory. Well, everything will go back to the way it was. But isn't that going to, as I mentioned in the previous stream, doesn't that mean everyone will forget this happened? So then they'll just repeat it because no one will have learned their lesson.
Problem is, we'll all be gone. But we're not gonna die. It's more like all of this will just stop. Things will go back to the way they used to be. That's the power of the Bastion. This whole place is a living record of the times before the calamity. The way things were before this story.
Yep, the final dungeon only power. It's kind of weird that.
You be your old self again. Think all those times that didn't go your way.
Probably don't want to stay too long. Yeah, because the icicles are.
All of life's little setbacks. Imagine if you could have another go at them.
Oops. Uh-oh.
You follow me? No mistakes.
Oh, darn it.
Anyone you've ever heard. Everything you've ever done, you could do it over. And wouldn't that be grand?
I guess in some ways that's cool.
Wouldn't you agree? Well, I guess there's nothing more to say.
Well, that is the ending we're going to go for.
Come on, keep your chin up.
Oops. I really need to be more.
I'm not kidding.
I really need to be way more careful.
there's something else. A confession. How come I know so much about the Bastion?
Oops.
Well, I designed the place.
Yep.
But that's beside the point.
Yeah, he was the one that designed. Oh, Rux, you were keeping us in the dark till the very end.
There's one problem with a place that sets things back to a bygone time.
Yeah, you don't
You
remember.
can't test it.
No, you can't.
So you're probably wondering if the calamity happened already. What's to stop it from happening again after the Bastion does its thing?
Right, wouldn't people just do it all over again? Oops. Little light platform in here.
The answer is... I don't know.
Right. That's what I was saying. I thought about it, but the end. So that's why I didn't pick the. We go back to the past ending.
You're wondering if there ain't some other way out of this mess. It's alright. I can tell. But why would you even want another way? Unless you wanted to stay here with us. Well, that's sweet and all, but I don't know if I can stick around.
Yeah, everything's the same so far. Of course. Yeah, the only thing that matters is later on. I'll show you what happens if you don't spare. So, I thought about it. I'm like, I might as well show you the full extent.
The weight of the calamity. It's on our shoulders. Can't just let it go. Bastion does have another function, strictly speaking.
Yeah, you hold the other way.
If ever the monument blew out and we couldn't repair it, we could still evacuate. First, we'd round up as many folks as we could carry. Next, we'd detonate the cores, and we'd take off away from here.
Sorry, it was like, which way do I go again? Yeah, it's this way. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to... I think you have to use the Colossal Smash for this point. Here you go. Yeah, I don't technically have to do it this way, but...
Heavy, ain't it? Of course, that would mean no going back. Ever. But then again...
Yeah, of course that was the first
way, all of us could leave the city. Together.
And yeah, if you don't spare Zolf and you take that ending I did show you guys earlier, he won't be in the credits. So we did the right thing to save him and take him and choose.
You know, Zolf and his countrymen won't be giving up that shard without a fight, don't you? Zolf and the Ura. All they want now is to see the Bastion fall. Zolf dedicated his life to lasting peace between the Ura and Celandia. He can't have imagined the city would try to wipe the Ura out. Zolf ain't lost every shred of decency though, has he?
No.
He tried to warn you about his plans. He tried to warn you. For Zolf, this ain't a personal matter. It ain't a simple matter of pride either. One thing's for sure. The Ura can't be happy that the kid followed Zolf all the way home.
That's why they beat him within an inch of his life. Kind of messed up, actually. Anyway, since we are going to reset time anyway, there is really no point of saving him. because it doesn't change anything in the ending we are going to choose. Obviously, if we were going to move forward, this would change things. So that is what I know based on what I've already read. Oh, so we will do move on. Abandon Zolf's body and press forward the battering ram. Zolf's situation is hopeless and a distraction. His plan to avenge the Ura only brought more suffering. All that matters is the safe return of the shard.
Kid saves Zolf once, but I don't think he made the same mistake. I wouldn't.
Yep. Yep, so we're gonna go... Poor Zolf. I abandoned him. It does feel kind of bad to do that, but... Now we have to do the fight normally.
Don't you worry, though. Once the Bastion's restored, it'll all be alright. You ain't still thinking about that whole leaving the city thing, are you?
Instead of stopping attack. One thing, if you do to spare Zolf, even if you lose, technically you would have died from low health, the game will still let you progress, and because the Ura will actually recognize your sacrifice, and they'll be like, you know what, he's just trying to save Zolf.
Kid's probably dealt with Zolf by now.
I think the dialogue's the same, even if
reminds me of myself when I was his age. I ever tell you about those days?
Yeah, obviously saving Zolf is a lot more dramatic and interesting, but I just wanted to show you what happens if you don't save Zolf. You know, we took half the time this time because I was just moving really fast. Died a few times, but so I was a little more careless. But
hey, kid. Get up, kid. Come on, that ain't funny. I say get up. That's more like it. Now, set that shard into the monument there. Then we'll talk. The Bastion. It's finally finished. Now, there's something I want you to see.
yeah, there's really no point in stalling this time, so that's why I'm moving on quickly.
Welcome to the heart of the Bastion. I ain't one for long goodbyes, so here's the deal. Zia and I figure you done the heavy lifting, so you get to do the honors. We can tell you how to work this thing if you got any questions. Hey, kid.
What will it feel like when the Bastion fixes
You
everything?
can undo the calamity here and now. Go on, kid. And before I forget, thank you.
Rux is, of course, you know, Rux is the one advocating for using the machine for its intended purpose, which is to rewind time, whereas Zia would rather say like, no, don't do that, forget going back in time, let's continue forward. If you could go anywhere else, would you go back or somewhere else?
Always wondered what the motherland was like. Not that it matters anymore.
No, he's talking like you'll pick the restoration ending. He never learned the whole truth, did he?
Zolf only brought more ruin to the Ura. No wonder they didn't take kindly to him.
At the end of the career, the marshals used to return their badges to the city.
You got one thing left to do, so you hang on to that badge. Besides, you earned it.
The windbags, the beasts of the wild, the Ura, they fought so hard to stop this
Don't
moment.
let anything you've done get to you. You can save all those creatures here and now.
We made it.
Do you think this is going to work? What do you think I should do?
So, let's see. You can either prevent the calamity, or stick around with me and Rex. I'd hate to be in your shoes.
If you could go anywhere you wanted, where would you go?
If I could be any place I wanted, I'd stay right here. We could go anywhere in the world.
Yeah, she was always advocating for not going back. His own people turned on him when his plan to destroy the Bastion faltered.
Zolf tried to talk me into joining him. I tried to talk him out of it. I guess we both failed.
They were very brave, but there was nothing left for them but their revenge.
When I finally found my people, I told them we could help. They just took me for a traitor. Glad you showed up.
Yeah, unfortunately the Ura were not kind to Zia herself either. Inventions they couldn't take on the help from, I guess they just couldn't swallow taking help from the very people that had been set up to destroy them. Not that it was Rux's fault either. That he wasn't the one making the calamity. That was the other people. Isn't there some moment in your life you wish you could go back to?
Any moment I'd want to live again happened after the calamity, not before.
So she, as you guess, she did not have a good life before the calamity, apparently. Well, let's find out what happens if we pick restoration. Evacuation was what we did before, and that was probably the end. Of course, that was the ending I ended up going with, because, as I said, why would this wouldn't help? Because you would just end up in this. Wouldn't you end up in this situation anyway, where the calamity the calamity happens because people don't remember that it happened and they can't learn from it. So let's initiate the Bastion's restoration protocol, and the return to a previous world state is irreversible. Use only as directed. Sorry, Zia. This time we are going to go all the way back.
It's finished. Now, sit tight. It'll be over soon. No matter what happens next, you're done good. I suppose all that's left is to try and remember this moment.
The irony. But the point is, won't you?
Bastion's gonna take us back to a better time. Before any of this. My people forget everything you've done. And each other. Though after all we've been through, I find that hard to believe. So long, kid. Maybe I'll see it in the next one. Ceylondia, we're coming home.
Yeah. He's saying maybe we'll remember what we did. My guess, probably not. I mean, that's the whole point, right? You won't remember. There's Zolf with his wife. So yeah, see, that's why if you go back, then you'll always see this, because Zolf will always be alive. Which is why I wanted to just show you what happens. You don't save him. That's her heart. And that's what the kid was doing before. He was, I guess, carpentry. He lifting his big hammer. That's why he was pretty good at using one. And there's the plans for the Bastion. It's like Zio of the Heartless being watched by some shadowy figures. She doesn't look particularly like she's super happy. So in the end, he has to go back to the state where he was preparing the Bastion, because the calamity is going to, in case the calamity happened. So that's what I'm saying, though. Wouldn't it mean that you would just end up back in the same spot? I mean, you could keep restoring over and over again, but because no one learns anything, so you just end up coming back here. Yeah, it's a little sad that Zolf's wife is dead. If you continue on, at least you all are alive, I guess. Undoing the calamity doesn't seem to do anything if you can't remember that you've done what the calamity actually ends up doing. And in the ending doesn't show that they remember each other either. So there's no reason to believe anything is any different. Otherwise, Zia would be together with one of you. But yeah, that's the other ending. So just to show you what happens if you chose to restore the world to the way if you chose to roll back time, essentially. Yeah, so Zolf had a Ceylonian wife, incidentally. That's one new information. And Zia doesn't seem to have had a great life in either. It's kind of pretty lonely. No one was with her. And that's it. That is indeed the second ending. So I hope you guys did enjoy that. Alright. Well, I mean, all that's left now is the review, right? So that is the end of the playthrough of Bastion. And that's all the endings you can see. There isn't any other story content. You could do like some challenges, but you're not going to get any new story content. So that's gonna be it for us. I don't really see the point of continuing on unless you really want to do all the challenges. But since you don't get story content out of it, I'm not super motivated to do it. But you can always check out what they are in the YouTube channels of other YouTube playthroughs. Yeah, feel free. But yeah, that's the end of our playthrough. So now that we're here in the end of the playthrough, it does mean we're at, like, I guess, like, the part of this playthrough I really enjoy doing, or maybe is it my favorite? I don't know. It's just different. But no, in seriousness, I usually, at the end of each playthrough, I do a review and kind of say my final thoughts about the game. And so, yeah, we're gonna do it the usual way. So this is kind of an action RPG. So our categories, as usual, are story, graphics, sound, and gameplay, and those are the four aspects of Bastion of RPGs that I find that are probably the ones that are important to everyone who plays this. So we're first going to talk about the story of this game. It's actually really, I do find the setting of this game really interesting. There's not that much story. Well, there's a lot that's not said. I think that's one of the interesting things is the fact that they don't tell you things for a long time until you get further and further, and like there's just a lot of bombshells that are dropped about what the Bastion actually is supposed to do. So it's actually kind of an interesting one about, like, this isn't one of those where they're gonna tell you everything in excruciating detail. Like, notice we didn't roll back or show memories of their people's, like, the lives of the player, the characters until the very end. You only can do it if you do restoration ending, and then, like, other times you just kind of have to put the pieces together yourself. And I actually think that's quite interesting, where, like, a lot of it is shown, not told, or sometimes it's just implied, but like, ultimately the story is not too complicated. I mean, you just basically, it's one of those, like, it's another one of those tales of, like, of two warring kingdoms and warring countries, I guess. They're not kingdoms in that sense. And then just, like, the nuclear option. What happens if someone uses the nuclear option? And the way it's a kind of, like, using such a destructive option ended up not only destroying the Ura were destroyed, no doubt about it. Like, it broke their country and but the country that ended up using the nuclear option, Zealandia, was also destroyed along with it. So it's sort of like those who I know, like, there's a biblical saying, those who live by the sword die by the sword, but in a sense, this is like an extreme version of, like, what happened, how this country was destroyed was by their very own doing. The destruction was by their very own destructive weapon, and there was some shenanigans from Zia's father to ensure that ended up happening when they decided to use the nuclear option. He made sure that nuclear option, Zealandia wouldn't get away with it, but the result was, of course, like, more bloodshed and, like, pretty much, like, wiping out many innocent people on both countries, honestly. And it's really sad too, of course. And, like, in a way, like, the ending is sort of like, like, you're sort of brought to, like, when you do the restoration ending, it's not even like it's very satisfactory either, because you realize that it's just put things back to the way they were, but it doesn't really change. It didn't seem like the characters changed, or the characters could bring what they had learned into the past time. It doesn't seem like it. So, because, yeah, that's the whole point. It just brings you back in time, but you don't remember what you were like before later in the future. So in a way, like you're kind of encouraged like to do the evacuation ending, where like you have a where you have to move on from this event and find a new life. It's like from after all everything you've loved is destroyed, and that's actually kind of interesting too. Like they're all very interesting scenarios. Like they do. I will say maybe it's not definitive that if you go back in time that you couldn't prevent it. The problem is that how would you remember to do that? Like there are no variables that change, so it's not like you're going back with foresight, because it doesn't seem like anything changed. I mean, maybe that's they're saying that, but maybe something did change. Maybe that's, but like there's no evidence that any of the characters remember each other because they're not hanging out with each other. Whereas at least with the evacuation, you know that the four characters will be together. So, and it's like moving on from the pre-calamity life. So I do find it's actually quite interesting. It's in like this. It's pretty imaginative scenario actually, and like I really like how the setting is also very interesting. Like you hear about the history, like how people's lives were in the past, but you're seeing like it, like how the calamity affected it, and so you're just really soaking in just how destructive the calamity ended up being. Like it's like a force of nature that just wiped out everything, and even the monsters were affected too. Some became more aggressive because of that. So it's actually really cool. Like I love this little bit of extra of meta storytelling in a sense, and like this isn't the most like crazy, like it's not the most like, oh, it's going to be like a detective drama or something, but like it's just a cautionary tale of just like man-made destruction, just how the ramifications of getting hit by it. But it also gave the team a chance to show a pretty interesting and imaginative world where like things are in pieces and you can fall off it. It's like how like the calamity forced everything to be suspended in midair, and it's like it's a world unlike anything I've ever seen from a game, and I really like that a lot. That makes so the setting is just like you're just going to remember this, even after you're finished with this game. You'll still remember the world of Bastion, just how like bizarre and strange it is. So I really like that a lot, and it was one of the more enjoyable parts of the game. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. Like it's for a short game, there's just so much to take in too. Like the game is actually very short, but like the story will stay with you for a long time and you'll be thinking about it. So that's it. All I have to say for the story. About the graphics, like obviously this game was made in 2011, so it's not Supergiant's most beautiful looking game anymore, but like even for the tech is actually quite interesting. Like this sort of like it's 2D animated in a sense, but the models themselves are 3D. Like they look fine for what they are. Of course we have to take 2011 into account. It looks great. Like it still ages pretty well. It still looks really nice. Obviously it's a little like the animation can be a little goofy, and like you can definitely tell like there's some of the enemies look very still, which is kind of odd. Like there's not a whole ton of animation frames for some of the enemies, so it does have this quality of like looking like one of those. Like it does make the game look a little look more indie, so to speak. I was like, there's not as many frames of animation when they are attacking, so it is a little strange. And sometimes it's a little hard to see that how much damage they've taken, but like otherwise it's totally fine. Like I don't like it's not a huge deal for me. It's just like the game does look a little cheap though, and like the bigger versions of enemies definitely like look a little more like looks a little bit more recycled, and And because it's blown up, it doesn't look as good. But you know, it's just very minor stuff. But and the thing is, what's aged well is the world too. Like the world, the levels, they look really really cool, and they like they look very imaginative. And as I was saying with the story, like the graphics really make, like the design of the world is just very very interesting, and like it gives that unique flavor of like it's something that it isn't like anything else I've seen before, and that's really creative. I really liked it a lot. I think the only thing about sometimes choosing the isometric view is like sometimes it's hard to tell where to walk occasionally because of the way things are, so like the perspective. So that is one thing where I've fallen off because I couldn't tell that I was able to walk on or walk off. So it's just I think it's just a side effect of the isometric view. So it is kind of curious that they've chosen to use the view, and it does allow the world to have its signature look. And also I'm very hot, so excuse me. But like I don't know, but it does have some of its quirks. It's very minor too, though. I think ultimately it's still very polished for a game that is done by a small team. And so yeah, I actually really think the graphics are aged really well. I don't think it looks bad at all. Like the art is so nice and detailed. Like seriously, like I'm a huge fan of how the game's portraits and characters are the character designs. They just look really really good, and I'm like it, and they really helped to establish the world and establish like the kind of what to expect, where it's sort of this cartoony look, but it's not, but you don't not take it seriously, I guess, in a sense. Like it's not like it is like the Western style. Like it looks like a Western styled design, but it's like, but they still look very nice. So I really did like it. The graphics are really good. It's aged really well, even still to today. For the sound, I get. Now that we're done with that, I was gonna say for sound, the music is just the highlight of the game. Like the sound effects are cool too, and like I don't have a. They actually also contribute the different feel. Then you feel like stock. The sound effects are definitely not stock. They sound really cool, and they're very very neat. Like the soundtrack is just really good. I would definitely like. I've heard that they've done performances before for like various pieces of the game. I also don't know, and like that's really really cool. And so I am like I would definitely go and listen to it. And I definitely would listen to the soundtrack. They have some really interesting. It's just a really interesting sound. It gives the game its unique feel. So everything about this game just gives like, it's all about the world. Seriously, all about the setting, and like the sound definitely contributes to that. And having Rux as the narrator, that's a way like some good voice acting as well. I had no problem with it. Zia is okay, and she's a little bit like she has very few lines, and I don't know if the delivery is quite there, but like it's just a minor thing. But like but she doesn't have very many lives to begin with, so it's kind of it's not a big deal either. I'm just pointing it out that I'm like, oh well, it's a little flat sounding, but it's probably not the VA's fault. It's just probably like the vocal direction. Rux does a good the narrator does a good job of like adding that. Like, who would think that a game could, like, this is one of the few things where the game's actually narrating what you do. And like I mean it's probably not the first game that does this, I'm sure, like adventure games, but like it's actually really cool to hear a narrator narrate your actions in an action RPG. And see, that's the thing, that's what makes Bastion so interesting, because the sound makes it so, even the sound design contributes to making this game have that unique feel that you don't have anywhere else. Like there's no other game I've played, and especially not on this stream, at all, or outside of this dream, where a game actually narrates your actions as you take them in real time. That must have been really crazy, difficult from a technical standpoint, but I really like it a lot. It's just so unique, and I'm very surprised that games haven't really taken, like, no other game has decided to take on that. Oh, sorry, I disconnected my. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, I loosened the USBs. But anyway, yeah, like no other game has taken on that. So it's just unique for, I guess, Super. I don't know if this is a thing in Transistor, but like, and I know Transistor soundtrack is not the same people, but like, it's really, really cool. I really liked how like interesting, how even the sound design is very thoughtful too. It's not just like, oh, here, have some nice tracks and a good sound design and the voice acting, but there's like, even the sound itself is an important component of giving the feel of the game. So, yeah. So basically, this game has great music, great sound design. And finally, we're coming here to the last part, gameplay. I am very, like, I'm not sure. I definitely think the game is a lot of fun. But I also do feel the controls do get in the way at some point. You can notice I was like, the cannon is just so difficult to use. I really don't like how to aim it, because you have to aim it with a control stick, and it's like, it's really difficult to get a precise aim on it. And so it can be kind of, some of the weapons are more frustrating to use than others. Some of them are pretty easy because they auto target. Yeah, it's just the cannon that doesn't auto target. I think it's honestly the worst weapon. Even though I used it at the end, I think it's probably the worst weapon to use in terms of feel. And sometimes it's difficult to tell where you're aiming, especially like with the flame. It's really hard. The flamethrower, it's really hard to tell where you're facing. So it's just a side effect of the isometric view. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. I didn't know what happened there. But anyway, like, I really like the structure of, like, of course there's the challenges. It is a little bit like, I don't know how to feel like it, of course there's achievements you can get, and you get tangible rewards off of it. I mean, in the end, I didn't really use much of anything. Like, we didn't use even the special abilities from the weapons that we earned. So ultimately, it is really just for self-satisfaction. You don't really get much out of it. I guess they couldn't lock the story content behind it because they didn't want to punish players for, like, not being able to clear the challenge, because those challenges are honestly really, really hard. So I'm actually kind of glad they made those completely optional. But of course, it just has a side effect of, like, you're just doing it for self-satisfaction. And the little, like, achievement, it's cool that they have the gods as the deities, as, like, instead of helping you, they are actually there to make your life harder. So it's quite fascinating that they gave you so much flexibility in how you want to play your game. You can play it as normally, like we did, or you can have, if you don't find the challenge hard enough, you can give yourself hard mode stuff. And I guess the game, in a way, the game is designed for replayability. So even a game with a small amount of content, you can get a lot out of it, because you can just alter the way you play. And there's quite a lot of weapons too. I mean, I don't know, some weapons I definitely prefer over others. Like, I definitely prefer the auto aiming weapons, like the darts, instead of the cannon. But like otherwise, like, I don't have anything too much to say about those. I just like that there's a good variety of ways to play. Some weapons kind of come in much later, so you're not, I mean, you could go back in previous levels and use them, I guess, but they're not really an incentive. I think the only thing is, like, there's not really much incentive to going back to previous levels, because, like, you don't gain anything out of it. There's like no incentive. That is one thing. There's just no incentive to go back, even if you gain new weapons. Like some you gain very late, and then where you can do? You only can use in the final area. So like even if you get the ultimate weapon, like you almost don't need ultimate techniques really. Like it's not that necessary. If you have your weapon upgrades will be just good enough to mow down most things. Like I guess the ultimate weapons are great for final bosses, I guess. And it's kind of curious that this game doesn't have a final boss, so to speak. Like you just have a lot of Ura to deal with, but there's no final boss. Actually, so I actually think that is quite an interesting design choice. And like I guess for the story it makes sense. Like why would there be someone so strong left? Like the whole point is to show the Ura are in desperate need, a desperate situation. So I think it's actually kind of works out where like your expectations are like they don't match your expectations because they're like they don't want to sacrifice the story's integrity to do so. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, like it's a lot of fun. I just think there's just not a whole lot of like incentive to go back to old levels. I guess you have the challenges, you could use them. Probably that's where you would want to use most of your abilities. So yeah, like there's ways to make the game interesting. It's just like there's just of course ultimately the game is pretty small, but it's not meant to be played so long anyway. I kind of appreciate the length of the story too. Like not every game needs to be a 50-hour epic, or even 30 hours is a long time, a lot of time to ask for some people. Like not everyone is like conditioned to want to play. I know that there's a lot of people like do debate like, is the game better or worse because it's shorter or longer? And then of course there's advocates of like, no, the game is a ripoff. It needs to be 30 hours, or it needs to be 50 hours, or this game gave me 100 hours. It is the most economical for my $50 or $60 or $40 or 30 US dollars, of course. But like other people are like, no, wasn't the experience important? Like why does the game should respect my time? Why is it so insanely long? Like I'd rather have like short meaningful content rather than a lot of padding. So like yeah, there's a lot of debate about it. Like I actually think the game is it's short and it's in a good spot. I think the game doesn't need to be longer than that. It would have just dragged the story out for no reason, because like ultimately we didn't need. Like ultimately, I think like the game is perfectly paced. Like you don't have to wait a long time to learn things, and it'd be really annoying if you learned it at a very slow rate. So, like for the story and they're trying to tell, and like I think it's the correct amount of content. Really, this game doesn't need to be super long, so I think it doesn't wear out as welcome at all. I think it's in a good position, good amount, good paced. Well-paced game. Really, it is. I can see why this game won awards back then. So, yeah, now we finally come to ultimately the conclusion of this all. So, what did I think of the game? Or like, sorry, not what did I think, but would I recommend the game to other people? Like, my system is more like I don't do numbers because numbers are meaningless. And like everyone has random arbitrary numbers, and it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you, is this game worth your time? You'd be better off just listening to what I have to say about the game in detail, rather than some arbitrary number that doesn't mean anything. Like what is their meaning? There's no meaningful difference. Like all you care about is the game worth your time, and should you play it, right? So in my opinion, I recommend this game a lot. And for me, it's a thumbs up. Yeah, I usually go with a thumbs up buy, thumbs up rent, thumbs down rent, and thumbs down period. So those are the only 4 criteria that, like, it's just how strongly I feel. For me, it's a thumbs up. Like, I would say it's probably a thumbs up buy. I mean, really, it's like this game you can get for not a, not a great amount of money, and for how little you get to pay for it, you get a lot out of it. And that's why I really recommend, like, from like, and that's just a purely monetary standpoint. I just think it's an experience worth experiencing. I think if you are not versed with action RPGs, maybe it's a thumbs up rent, because like maybe the controls will be too difficult for you, or like you might have difficulty with it. And like, of course, if you're a completionist, maybe you'll find it too grindy. I don't know. Like, that is one thing I just forgot to mention, that if you want everything, you may have to grind a little bit and take on the challenges, and that might be very difficult if you are a completionist. But it's not that long either. So yeah, thumbs up buy if you love RPGs in general, and thumbs up rent maybe if you're not as familiar. Like, it's a good, simple system, and I forgot to even mention, like, the system is not even complicated. I didn't even mention it in the review, because it's really, like, it's very simple. Like, your health and abilities, and that's it. It's simple, but it works for an action RPG. You don't have to think about complicated progression systems at all. So it just kind of works organically for the pacing of the story. You're not bogged down in the menus at all. So, like, yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's available in many different platforms, not just the Switch. You could buy on Steam, or like the other like PlayStation, Xbox as well. And you can get it anywhere. So I recommend it, and I would say, like, it's very good. And it's an experience that I am very glad to have gone through. So yeah, that's the end of my review. Thank you all for watching to the end of the Bastion playthrough. As you already know, if you did enjoy this, we are already starting the new game, which is Shunyuan Sword Mist Beyond the Mountains. Please feel free to stop by there if you'd like to watch the new game that took over. This, after we finish this one's the ending I chose, of course. But otherwise, yeah, we're gonna go straight into Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity from here on. So I guess that's it for now. I'm gonna give, if you did enjoy this stream, we do have a one sec. We do have a Discord where you can discuss this game and other games of interest, or you can follow us on Facebook or X or Twitter down below. I need to get a blue sky, I keep forgetting. If you did enjoy the stream, we also have archives of previous streams on YouTube, which is where you might be watching this from. And there will definitely be more archives coming very soon because of the Twitch policy, so please stay tuned for that. So yeah, I guess we'll see you for more Shunyuan Sword. It's just the game we're playing on probably later today, Friday, or otherwise see you for more Hyrule Warriors after this one. So I guess 很快见 or 下次再见, which means see you soon or see you next time. Bye now.